Welcome back. You're still watching Joy News Prime, and this is Business with me, Sandra Esenamapenu. Cocoa Board has joined hands with its counterpart in Ivory Coast on developing standards for cocoa beans. The move is expected to influence prices of cocoa beans from these two countries. George Wiafe is in Ivory Coast and has come through with this report.
So today in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, the two cocoa marketing or cocoa regulators have met and agreed on having a common standard with respect to exporting their beans to Europe and other countries. What has stated this was that most of the buyers came forward with their own standards and what they want to buy the beans from these two respective countries, that is Ghana and then Ivory Coast. But these two regulators, that is Cocoa Board and their counterparts in Ivory Coast, believe that they should work out their own standards in line with ISO with respect to how these beans should be measured and agreed upon when it comes to exporting them. So today they have finalized the agreement that they are working towards agreeing or having a common standard for beans that are exported out of Ghana and then Ivory Coast. One would say that this could go a long way to influence or impact on the price of beans exported from Ghana and then Ivory Coast. So good news for farmers in Ghana, good news for farmers in Ivory Coast with respect to these common standards that the two countries have agreed when it comes to export of cocoa beans from these two countries. Good news for farmers, some would say. From Abidjan in Ivory Coast, this is George Wiafe reporting for Joy Business.
Report and recent accidents involving Ethiopian Airlines flight 302 Boeing 737 MAX 8 has got the whole world talking. Safety questions are begging for some answers. Some have described the cause of these accidents as a battle between the pilot and the computer. So the question is technology causing more havoc than good in aviation space? First, let's take a look at some air disasters believed to have been caused by technology-related issues. U.S. President Donald Trump laments the complexity of modern airlines in the wake of the Ethiopian Airlines crash. This is what he had to say on Twitter, and I read what he says, and let's see whether it will come on the screen shortly. The tweet from President Donald Trump, and but we've been joined in the studio by aerospace medicine specialist Dr. Yakubu Akparibu, if I get the name right, for more on this development. Thanks so much for your time this evening.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so air travel itself is a very big, breakthrough in terms of technology for the airspace. Sure. But do you think that this breakthrough is unfortunately seen as biting us more than we should expect?
No, I don't think so. I think overall technology have really made air travel better over the years.
Why do you say it's better? Because, technology obviously, but we're having issues of technology also failing the aviation industry and then aircraft in general.
Yeah, normally we introduce technology to improve systems, like improve performance and that stuff. Yeah, so when you look at the overall outlook, the number of passengers that like these commercial carriers carry, and then the accident rate, I can confidently say that like things are not that bad. Technology is far better.
You saw the data we put out there. It has to do with computer failure, some inbuilt compositions that either the pilot is not aware about. Do you think that competition is actually pushing a lot of aircraft manufacturers not to do, proper and adequate training of people who are handling these aircrafts? And in this case, I'm talking about the pilots.
Yeah. I think it's normally has to do with the training.
Okay.
Yeah, I think normally pilots don't have enough training, and then they start flying these aircrafts, and then that is the main problem. So when, like most of the accidents that you've shown, it's always like most of the aircraft performing in a different way that the pilots think it is, and then presses some equipment, and then it results to accident. So I think it actually has to do with enough training.
But how on earth will you put a pilot in the air and put a lot of people in his hand, and there's something in there in an aircraft that that pilot has no idea of, or probably not enough training on what is in there?
Yeah, it's not that the pilots don't have an idea what has been put there, but normally is like I explained to you, is like enough training. So if like they introduce new technology, what they do is that they provide a replica of that in the form of a simulator. So the pilots practice in that, and then until they fly the actual aircraft.
But you also remember one of the accidents that we actually showed was a simulation exercise rather than a takeoff, then they crashed.
Yeah, so normally it has to do with, you see, aviation flying is very complex, and normally you need to take like split decisions, and if things changes a little, and one thing that we forget is that flying has to do with checklists. It's like a routine procedure.
Okay.
So when there's like a deviation from the norm, then it increases like workloads in the pilots, and that is when they try to fidget. And because like seconds matter during those stages, then they enter like the wrong impulse, and then accidents.
I see. So what is different about the Boeing 737 MAX 8 from what we had in the past, and then the technology that is provided in the new one? How different is that from the previous one?
Yeah, so the new one, they've just like change the engines to increase performance. That is to reduce fuel consumption. You know, now fuel is a big issue, and then and because of that, they put in bigger engines. So because the weight of the aircraft has changed, then it has a tendency to do something we call stalling. Stalling just simply means that the aircraft is not able to lift up.
Okay.
So the gravity just pulls it down, and then it crashes. So Boeing then put in like an automated system there to correct that kind of maneuvering that the aircraft does. And then the pilots normally have to have training on that kind of system, and then be able to know that when the aircraft is stalling, then they need to like perform certain maneuvers to take it off the stall. So basically, that is what has happened and has caused all these problems. It's just the bigger engines that they've put in.
Interesting, but there's a lot of fear and panic out there, especially for the aviation traveling public. And also, we have the driverless cars with us now. Should we be worried if anything like the pilotless aircraft coming in? Is it something we shouldn't accept, or we should be worried about?
This technology has been there for long. Like now we have drones and that kind of stuff. So like pilotless aircrafts technology is already there, but it's not being used because people are not going to accept that they would sit in an aircraft without like a human being controlling it. It's just that perception that hasn't allowed.
So pilotless doesn't mean that there will be nobody in place in the air or in the aircraft.
Yeah, that means like they would like the control of the aircraft whole is going to be remotely done. So all the passengers will be sitting in the cabin, and then everything is going to be controlled by somebody on the ground, and definitely people will not like have confidence in that.
Trust me, I won't sit in that aircraft
exactly.
anyway.
So
thank you very much, Dr. Yakubu Akpabrebu, right, for your input tonight on business with me. But earlier on, I was going to show you a tweet that was put up by President Donald Trump, and he was actually concerned. He said, airplanes are becoming far too complex to fly. Pilots are no longer needed, but rather computer science from MIT. I see it all the time in many products. I see it all the time in many products, always seeking to go one unnecessary step further, when often old and simpler is far better. Split-second decisions. That's from Donald Trump to pave the conversation that we earlier had about technology complexity of aircraft now. All right, so that's all for business with me, Sandra Esenam Apene. Do log on to our website, myjoyonline.com/business for more business updates. Have a great evening.